Okay, so I want to make a review about this TV show that I watch. Just FYI about me, I don't really watch TV shows. It's really rare that I finish a TV show, and it's like I need to really like a TV show to finish it, because I tend to start them and never finish them, just because I just feel like it just takes too much time, and I just feel like I'm wasting my life sitting on my butt, like watching stuff, and where like I could like be doing other stuff, and it just feels like it takes too much time. And sometimes it feels like it never ends, the amount of time, because there are TV shows that have like a million seasons and a million episodes, and it's crazy. I don't know how people have time for that, but whatever. So recently I watched this TV show on Netflix that is called Another Self, and it's not very long. I don't remember how episodes are. I think it's like 11 or 13 or something, and I really liked it. And the TV show is about this thing called family constellations. So just like a little bit of a backstory. The first time that I heard about family constellations was, I don't remember, maybe 2020? No. I don't know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I started doing like, so there was this lady that she's not a therapist, she's not a counselor. I think she's a coach, but I think she's a health coach. I'm not sure. But she doesn't have any like of this like titles of like mental health professionals. However, she has been, I think, the best therapy that I've ever gotten in my life. I would meet with her like once a week or something like that, for an hour, and she has been like my best therapy experience, even though she's not a therapist. And I've had a few therapists in the past, so I don't know if that speaks badly about the therapists that I've had or what. But yeah, so she's a person that like is really into like this healing journey and like healing experience, and yeah, she's just so amazing. Like this woman, I feel like she legit just changed my life, and she added so much greatness and amazing perspectives into my life. So I don't remember what we were talking about, but one time she mentioned this thing called family constellations, and I was like, what's that? And she was like, well, it's hard to explain, but I'd say like a family constellation is like doing 3 years of therapy in one day. And I was like, what? Like, is that a thing? Like, how do you do 3 years of therapy in one day? That sounds so crazy. And she was like, yeah, it's like this type of healing workshop activity where there's people in a group and there is an instructor person that is guiding everybody, and it's like doing family therapy in a group without your family. And I was so intrigued by that. I was like, wow, that sounds weird, but also it sounds cool. Like, I'm down for it. Like, just because I have a lot of trauma. Maybe you don't see it, but I'm just kidding. That's where all the wisdom comes from, honestly, is from the trauma. I'm just kidding. So I have a lot of trauma, and on a lot of times, like, I feel like, oh my God, my pile of trauma is like a pile of trauma. It's like if somebody has like a pile of trash, I have like multiple mountains of trash. Like, that's how I feel. It might not be true, but that's how I feel. And I feel sometimes like the shovel of therapy, like 1 hour a week, is not fast enough for the pile of trash that I have. Like, it would, like, a lifetime won't be enough to heal all of this stuff. And her saying that literally just like mathematically speaking, just really caught my attention of like, so if I can do 3 years and like, you know, like, just like, oh my God, that's really good. So she didn't tell me much, because I remember her saying like, you need to experience this, because it's really hard to explain to somebody what it is about if you don't experience it. And I was like, okay, because like, you know, she was so amazing, and then like I just trust her so much. I was like, yeah, girl, I'm down. However, since that, I've been really afraid of doing it. And I don't know why, but I've just been really afraid, because the whole thing of family constellations, like, you don't know really what you're gonna face, right? And that just really scares me. So I've been like with this, like not indecisiveness, but this deep desire to do this thing, but also like with this fear. And for me, fear is very paralyzing, and just like feeling paralyzed and feel like, oh, I can't do it because I'm so scared. So recently she shared this TV show that is on Netflix that is called Another Self, about what family constellations is. And I was really interested. It was like, oh wow, like maybe if I watch this, I will be less afraid and more interested into doing it, because I will have a better understanding of what it's about. So that's exactly what happened. Like, I watched the show and I just loved it, because it just helped me, you know, process or release a lot of my fear around doing family constellations. So pretty much the concept of family constellation, you know, I'm gonna try to explain this, but again, like, I suggest you watch the show, but let's, you know, this is like a review about the TV show. Why are you playing music right now? Okay. So so pretty much the idea of family constellations is that we all come from a lineage, right? And in our lineage, in our families, it's like, you know, family after family, generation after generation, there is trauma, you know, and there is things that happened, and things that people do, things that people say, things that people don't do, things that happen that can be really traumatic, and we pass that trauma through generations, through our DNA, biologically, but also because of our behavior. Because as you guys know, like, our biology and our environment are super connected, right? So in a way, our parents pass their trauma to us, not just by our biology, or anyway, I think like sometimes it's like the same thing, but like not just through through the biology, but also because we were raised by them, and they model to us how life is supposed to be, how relationships are supposed to be, how we're supposed to deal with money, we're supposed to deal with love, how we're everything, right? So then those things become like core truths and core stuff that we're not aware of, but they're subconsciously there, and they shape our reality, they shape our lives, and they shape a lot of our issues, right? So the idea of family constellations is that the way that, like, if you imagine, like, the way that we are connected to our parents or to our lineage is like there's a tree, right? And the tree has roots. It has a, I don't know how to say that in English, trunk? Is that right? Like the thick part of the tree. Then there is the branches, and then there is the leaves, right? And in some ways, we, like me, Awa, for example, I am a leaf in my tree lineage, if that makes sense. So what I receive, right, like there's like the minerals and the nutrients and the water that come from the ground, that come from the roots, and that needs to go all the way through the thick part of the tree to the branch, to the other branch, to the other branch, to the tiny little branch that gets to me. So, and even though a lot of that stuff is good, right? Because all lineage, like, not all of it is bad, of course. There's a lot of good things. There are bad stuff, and that bad stuff doesn't really come from me. It comes from the root. It comes from my great grandparents or whatever. But the way that I experience it in my life, in Awa, is in my life. And sometimes we can get really caught up in that and feel like, Awa, I have some issue. I have this X, Y, and Z issue, and it comes from me. And I can't figure out what's wrong with me, or I can't figure out how to change it, or it's so difficult to change it. And you think that it's just like individually you. And that's kind of the Western perspective of therapy. Like therapy is very individual, right? Like it's a one-on-one with your therapist. But the reality is that me, Awa, even if I'm not physically connected with my lineage or my family or whatever, like, you know, there's like a story behind how I got here. And there is a story behind all the things all the traumas that got to me. And in some ways, I'm having like the symptoms of those traumas, but those traumas do not come from me. They come from something else, someone else way before me. So the idea of family constellations is that if you can heal the trauma or the thing that's been passed down through generations at the root of it, right? Eventually that will get to the whole tree and all the branches and all the leaves, and it will get to me, and my life will change for the better. Because, you know, when we get rid of something that is harming the tree is just gonna get better, because the tree is designed to be healthy and to be strong and reliable and work properly and do all those beautiful things that trees do. So in some ways, that's what family constellation is about. So that's a TV show that it follows like the life of three women that they are learning about this family constellations. Of course, like the stories are, you know, like are fiction, but I've heard amazing testimonies about family constellations and just how life-changing it can be, and how it is like this intense therapy that you can do. Something also, like, I feel like, you know, we have like in Western society, we have this idea that therapy is like a thing that we do one-on-one, like as I was saying, like very individual. But we forget that we are part of a system, and this system is called our families, right? And in family, sometimes there is like, each person has like a, I don't remember the term they use, but it's like a character, right? Like there's like a family dynamic, and there's like a persona or a character or like a thing that you had to become to function in the family within the dysfunction, if that makes sense. And that thing that we had to become, or that thing that we had to be, most of the time is not truly who we are at our core. It's kind of who we had to be in our families to be able to be part of the family or to be able to survive in the family. And then we can go through life being this fake persona or this character or being this thing that is not truly who we are, because that's all we've learned, right? And like, we don't really know how to connect with ourselves and how to be ourselves. So sometimes if you isolate that person and you're working on them through in therapy, even though therapy is amazing, I'm not saying anything, I'm just talking about like the different perspectives, it's kind of like missing the whole picture. So it's like I see a leaf in this tree, and it's like, oh, this leaf is sick, like there's something with it. But the leaf is connected to the tree, and there's something wrong with the tree. So if I don't get in to look at that, I'm never gonna be able to heal the leaf, because the leaf is just part of a big tree. So the whole idea of family constellation started from this guy, this doctor that lived in this African tribe in some country in Africa for 13 years or 10 years or 15 years, something like that. It was a long time. And he learned about this type of therapy tradition thing that they would do in this tribe. And it was like a therapeutic thing for everybody, but it was done in groups. It was done like in, I don't know if it was family units or groups, because their perspective on healing is that healing is a thing that we do collectively. It's not something that necessarily we do isolated. And I feel like in a lot of ways that's really, really true, and I just find that fascinating. So that's what the TV show is about. I don't want to spoil you the TV show, but that's what the TV show is about. It follows the lives of three women that are going through this family constellations journey, and it's really cool, you know, like, you know, what you learn and how like everything, you know, yeah. So pretty much it's like a way of, you know, it also, another thing is like sometimes, like, ideally the most healing thing would be like if families could do family therapy, right? But for that, you need to, the number one thing that you learn in therapy, number one thing is that you need to want to do therapy. You need to want to be there for it to work. If you don't want to change, if you don't want to get better, if you don't want to heal, you just won't heal. So it's really hard to do family therapy because you need everybody to be willing to want to do family therapy, because if not, it's just not gonna work. So the whole thing about family constellation is that it's a way of healing yourself and doing family therapy without having your family necessarily, because you will have people there that will represent your family. Anyway, I think this stuff is way more fascinating and mind-blowing that I'm talking about it, but I honestly feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to explain it the best I can. I suggest you watch the TV show, and after watching the TV show, I'm really, really, really interested in doing family therapy now. I feel like I'm kind of ready. And I don't know. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really scared. I'm really hopeful too, because I just feel like, wow, like it's crazy how like there's this quote that I love that says, when the student is ready, the teacher shows up. And I feel like it's so true. Like I feel like when we are ready for stuff in our lives, like life just shows us the way, shows us the right people, the right books, the right resources for us to learn, you know, if we're willing to learn. So yeah, like I'm really excited. I would like to like vlog the experience, but I don't know if I should, because I talked with one instructor about that, and he was like, yeah, like, but you shouldn't, like, the one of those things is like when you do family constellations, like you're not supposed to like talk about it for a while or whatever, because you're supposed to like not keep it a secret, but you're supposed to like stay with it for a while, to like process it, I guess. So I just feel like so maybe I shouldn't vlog it, but I definitely like want to share my experience, you know, like once I've experienced it. But anyway, I really love that TV show. It's so amazing. It's really short, and it really shows, even though it's fiction, like it really shows you what family constellations is about. Also, there is a TV show on Netflix that I think is called like Love, Sex, and something else, and there's an episode in there. I'm gonna put it in the description box, exactly the name of the TV show and the episode. There's an episode that I watched that is like like instead of like, because the TV show that I'm talking about, Another Self, is just like fiction around the idea of family constellations, but this is like an episode of just real people having a real family constellation happen there, like really therapy session, and there were just cameras that are recording. And after I watched the TV show, it was like, I don't know, it just made me really excited. Yeah, so I think that's it. Yeah, just remember what I'm saying, like when the student is ready, the teacher shows up. So I feel like truth is always there. It's always there. She's just this magical thing that just shows up when you're ready, like when you're present, when you're aligned, when you are interested, when you're curious, and when you're, I don't know, when everything is quiet and you're just like this observing presence, I don't know, this present awareness, then we can see how the truth is always being there, and it's really obvious. And then magical people show up doing magical things that are just so amazing. So yeah, anything, watch the TV show. You're not gonna regret it. Okay, that's it. Have a good night, or for me, good night. Bye.